The mockery begins. The alien camp was loud with laughter, filled with voices that carried arrogance and pride. Torches burned high, throwing strange shadows on the ground. Among the warriors, one figure stood taller and prouder than the rest, an alien with bright scales and sharp fangs. He was feared even by his own kind, not because of wisdom but because of his cruelty. This alien loved only one thing more than victory, mocking those weaker than himself. And tonight, his target was a human, a single soldier, far from his own people, trapped in the enemy camp. The human sat quietly on the cold stone floor, his hands bound, his uniform torn. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharp, studying everything around him. The alien circled him slowly, dragging his heavy weapon along the ground, making a scraping sound to draw attention. "Look at this fragile creature," the alien sneered, his voice filled with poison. "He calls himself a soldier of Earth, but even his bones look like glass." The crowd of aliens laughed loudly, clapping their claws together. Their laughter echoed like thunder in the night. The human said nothing. He did not flinch. He did not lower his eyes. Instead, he stared at the firelight, silent and still. It was not weakness. It was patience. But the aliens mistook it for fear, and that made them laugh even harder. The arrogant alien leaned closer, his scaled face just inches away. "Do you hear me, little human? Your species is nothing. You survive only because stronger beings allow you to. Without us, you would still be crawling in the dirt of your small blue planet." His words were sharp, each one meant to cut deep, but the human still did not speak. His lips stayed pressed together, his eyes calm like a still ocean. Inside, however, his mind was moving fast. He was remembering every insult, every laugh, every gesture. He was observing the alien's pride, his arrogance, and the way he loved the crowd's attention. The alien straightened up, spreading his arms wide to the other warriors. "See? He cannot even defend himself with words. He is too weak to speak, too fragile to fight. This is the great species that dares to call themselves warriors." The crowd roared with amusement, stomping their heavy feet on the ground. The human let the sound pass over him like wind. He had learned long ago that anger was a weapon best used at the right moment. For now, he sat in silence. But inside, fire was burning slowly, the kind of fire that never dies. It waits, it plans, and when the moment comes, it strikes. The alien warrior, frustrated by the human's calm, decided to push harder. He kicked the human's food bowl across the dirt. Spilling the last scraps of bread, he laughed, his voice booming. "Eat from the ground, human, that is where your kind belongs. Close to the dirt, close to the worms." The crowd screamed with joy at this humiliation. The human raised his eyes for the first time. Not with rage, not with weakness, but with a quiet strength. His gaze was steady, sharp, and unafraid. The alien froze for a moment, confused. Why did those human eyes look so calm, so dangerous? The silence stretched between them. The crowd noticed it too, their laughter dying slowly. Something in the human's stare made the air heavy, as if the roles were slowly beginning to shift, though no one dared admit it. Finally, the alien forced a laugh, breaking the moment. He stepped back, raising his claws. "See? He is broken already. He only stares because he cannot fight back. Tomorrow I will show you all how easily a human can be crushed." The crowd cheered again, but there was hesitation in their voices now. The human lowered his gaze, hiding a small smile. He knew something the alien did not. Humans were not weak. They were survivors. They endured pain, hunger, and humiliation. But when the time was right, they answered in ways no one expected. And so, as the night grew darker, the arrogant alien celebrated his power. The other warriors laughed and mocked, but deep inside, the human waited, silent, patient, and burning with quiet fury, because the mockery had only just begun. And when the moment came, he would prove what it truly meant to be human. He would bite back, harder than anyone in that camp could ever imagine. Silent observation. The campfires burned low, sending trails of smoke into the dark alien sky. Most of the warriors had gone to rest, their laughter fading into silence. But the human remained awake, sitting against the cold stone wall with his hands bound. His body looked tired, but his mind was sharp. He was watching, learning, remembering. The arrogant alien, the one who mocked him earlier, slept loudly near the center of the camp. His scaled chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, his weapon resting beside him. Around him, the other aliens trusted his strength too much. They believed no human could ever threaten their leader. And because of that belief, they let their guard down. The human's eyes moved slowly from one warrior to the next. He noticed who carried blades, who preferred claws, who wore armor. Every detail mattered. Every weakness was a piece of the puzzle. Even in chains, the human was gathering knowledge, and knowledge was a weapon more dangerous than any sword. He studied the arrogant alien most of all, the way he walked with his chest puffed out, the way he demanded attention, the way he lost focus whenever the crowd laughed. The alien was strong. Yes, but he was also careless. He craved pride more than victory, and that was something the human could use. Hours passed, but the human did not sleep. He listened carefully to the guards whispering. Their language was rough, filled with growls and clicks. But he understood enough. They spoke about tomorrow. A show of strength. The alien leader planned to humiliate the human in front of everyone, to prove once again that Earth's warriors were nothing. The human's jaw tightened, but he stayed calm. Humiliation did not matter to him. What mattered was survival, and the chance to strike back when the time came. He remembered his training, the lessons of discipline. Humans did not always win with strength. They won with patience, with timing, with the will to keep fighting. Long after others gave up, he lowered his head, pretending to sleep. But through half-closed eyes, he kept observing. One guard walked slower than the rest, dragging his tail. Another always looked toward the fire, never to the shadows. The human stored these details away, like tools hidden in his mind. The night grew colder. Strange alien stars shone above, casting silver light over the camp. The human let his thoughts wander briefly. Back to Earth, to the sound of rain on rooftops, to the voices of his comrades, to the promise he had made before leaving home. Never bow, never break. That memory kept his spirit strong even in the heart of the enemy. Suddenly, the arrogant alien stirred in his sleep. He muttered something, claws twitching. The human watched carefully. Even in rest, the alien dreamed of domination, a predator. Yes, but one too proud to see the danger of underestimating prey. The human's lips curled into the faintest smile. He was the prey for now, yes, but prey could become predator when the hunter grew arrogant. And this alien was the most arrogant of them all. The night dragged on, the fires dimming to embers. A cold wind swept through the camp. One of the younger warriors shivered, curling. Up tighter in his cloak, the human's sharp eyes noticed. Aliens were strong, but not invincible. They felt cold, they felt hunger, they felt weakness. They only pretended to be untouchable. That knowledge gave him strength. They were not gods. They were flesh and blood could bleed. The human closed his eyes fully now, but inside his mind painted a plan. He saw the camp as a map, the fires, the guards, the leader at the center. He traced escape routes in his imagination. He measured the distance to weapons left carelessly on the ground. He even considered how quickly he could break his bindings. If the right moment came, he would not hesitate. But tonight was not the night. Patience, he reminded himself. Patience is the weapon. They never expect. He slowed his breathing, matching the rhythm of the sleeping camp. If anyone looked his way, they would see only a tired prisoner. But inside, the fire was growing, hotter, brighter, waiting for the spark that would set it free. Before dawn, the arrogant alien woke with a loud stretch. He looked across the camp at the human and grinned. You are still alive? Good, little human. Tomorrow I will show my people how easily you break. He laughed to himself and went to sharpen his claws. The human met his gaze briefly, calm and steady. He did not answer, but his silence spoke louder than words. The alien turned away confident in his power. But if he had looked longer into those human eyes, he might have seen something he could not understand. Not fear, not defeat, but a quiet promise of revenge. The night ended, and the sky began to glow with the first light of morning. The camp came alive again, voices rising, laughter returning. The alien warriors prepared for the day's spectacle. They believed they would see a broken human humiliated before all. But they were wrong. The human had been silent, yes, but silence was never weakness. Silence was the calm before the storm, and when the storm came, the arrogant alien would learn what true power was. Not the power of claws or strength, but the power of a human who refused to break. The alien pushes. Too far morning came with the sound of drums. The alien camp was alive, warriors sharpening their blades and practicing strikes. The air smelled of smoke and iron, filled with the arrogance of a people who believed no one could challenge them. At the center of it all stood the arrogant alien, his scales gleaming under the rising sun. He stretched his arms wide, letting his people admire him. "Today," he shouted, his voice booming, "you will see once again how weak humans truly are. You will see that their courage is nothing but a lie." The crowd cheered, claws striking against the ground in rhythm. The human was dragged forward, still bound, his uniform torn and covered in dust. He walked slowly, but not because of fear. He wanted every step to look controlled. The aliens jeered, throwing scraps of food and bits of stone at him. "Look at him. Too small, too soft." They laughed. But the human kept his gaze forward unshaken. The arrogant alien stepped close, circling him like a predator. "Tell me, little human," he sneered. "How does it feel to be the weakest creature here? Do you feel shame when you see true warriors? Or do you still believe your fragile species matters?" He waited for a response, but again, the human gave none. His silence cut deeper than any words could. The alien's eyes narrowed. He leaned, close so that only the human could hear. "You think silence makes you strong? No, it makes you pitiful." He spat near the human's boots and laughed loudly so the crowd could see. The human's face remained calm, but inside, the fire grew hotter. He knew the alien wanted to provoke him into losing control, but control was the human's greatest weapon. Still, even patience has limits, and the alien was walking closer and closer to them. The alien turned back to the crowd, lifting his arms. "Shall we test his strength? Shall we see if humans bleed as easily as they cry?" The crowd roared in approval. He grabbed a bucket of water and poured it slowly over the human's head. "Drink, little one," he mocked. "This is all the mercy you will ever taste from us." The human closed his eyes as the water dripped down his face. His fists clenched against the ropes, but still he stayed silent. The crowd laughed again, some chanting insults in their guttural voices, but then the alien crossed the line. He picked up the human's dog tags, taken when he was captured. The small piece of metal hung in his claws as he waved it in the air. "This," he mocked, "is the pride of your kind? A chain with a name? Pathetic. You are not warriors, you are pets. Maybe I should hang this around my beast's neck instead." The human's eyes snapped open, and for the first time, he stared directly at the alien. It was not rage, not fear. It was something colder, sharper. The alien faltered for a brief moment under that gaze. It felt like staring into the eyes of a predator hiding behind human skin. The crowd noticed too. Their laughter weakened. There was something unsettling about how calm the human looked. It was as if he knew something they did not. The alien, irritated by this silence and gaze, decided to go further. He raised the dog tags high, then pressed them against the fire. The metal hissed, glowing red. "I will burn away your name, human. I will erase your existence so no one remembers you." That was the final strike. The human's lips curled into a thin, dangerous smile. It was not loud, not dramatic, but it was enough to send a chill through the crowd. For the first time, the arrogant alien felt unease creep into his chest. The human leaned forward, his voice quiet but steady. "You can mock me, you can chain me, but if you touch that name, I promise you, you will regret it." The crowd went silent, shocked at the sound of his voice, After days of silence, the human had finally spoken, and his words carried no fear, only certainty. Even bound, even surrounded, his presence felt larger than the camp itself. The arrogant alien snarled, trying to shake off the feeling. "You dare threaten me?" he barked. He shoved the heated dog tags close to the human's chest. "Then prove your power, fragile one. Show them your strength." The human did not move, but his eyes never left the aliens. They were unblinking, unyielding, and filled with a storm waiting to break. The silence that followed was heavier than all the laughter before. One alien in the crowd whispered, "Why does he not look afraid?" Another muttered, "Why does he smile?" And slowly, doubt began to spread among them. The arrogant alien growled louder, desperate to hold control of the crowd. He shoved the dog tags into the dirt, grinding them beneath his claw. "Tomorrow, I will crush this human before you all, and when I do, you will remember who the true warriors are." The crowd cheered again, but the sound was thinner now. It lacked the thunder of certainty. It was filled with unease. The human lowered his head once more, but the faint smile did not leave his lips. The fire inside him had grown too strong to hide. The arrogant alien had pushed too far, and the human was done waiting. For now he was silent again, but the storm was close, very close, and when it came, the arrogant alien would learn what it meant to provoke a human, not a weak creature, not a pet, but a predator hiding in plain sight. The human strikes back. The morning sun rose higher, burning away the mist. The alien camp gathered in a wide circle, eager to witness the humiliation. The arrogant alien stood tall in the center, claws flexing, fangs flashing. He was ready to break the human in front of everyone, to prove once again that humans were nothing. The human was dragged forward, his wrists still bound, his clothes torn. He walked with steady steps, no tremble, no hesitation. Every alien expected fear in his eyes, but they found only calm. That calm unsettled them, though they tried to cover it with laughter. The arrogant alien roared, raising his weapon. "Hi, today I will show you all. This human will crawl at my feet." The crowd cheered, stomping the ground. Dust rose into the air, the sound echoing across the camp like thunder. The human looked at the crowd, then at the alien. His lips curled into a faint smile. "You talk too much," he said quietly. The words were soft, but they cut deeper than a blade. The alien snarled, lunging forward. His weapon swung down like a storm, heavy and brutal. The crowd gasped, expecting the human to fall instantly, but in that single heartbeat, something changed. The human moved, fast, sharper than any alien had imagined. He twisted to the side, the blade striking only dirt. Using the momentum, he kicked upward, smashing his heel into the alien's knee. The arrogant alien stumbled, with a roar of pain, shocked that the human had struck back at all. The crowd went silent, their laughter dying in their throats. The human straightened, ropes still hanging from his wrists. But somehow, he moved as if unchained. Every motion, precise, controlled, and filled with purpose. "You wanted me to fight," the human said coldly. "Now you'll see how humans fight." The alien charged again, furious. He swung wide, aiming to crush the human's chest. But the human ducked low, rolled forward, and came up behind him. With a sharp pull, he yanked the ropes around his wrists until they snapped against the stone edge of the arena. His hands were free, blood dripping from raw skin, but now he had no restraints. The crowd gasped louder. This was no longer a prisoner. This was a predator unleashed. The arrogant alien turned, but too late. The human's fist drove into his jaw with brutal force. The sound cracked through the camp like breaking bone. The arrogant alien staggered back, eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible," one warrior muttered. "He struck him. The human struck him," another whispered. Fear crept into their voices. The arrogant alien roared, embarrassed and furious. He swung again, but every move was slower now, fueled by pride instead of focus. The human, calm and calculating, dodged with ease. Each counter-strike landed sharp and efficient, fist to ribs, knee to stomach, elbow to throat. The crowd had expected a show of weakness, Instead, they saw discipline, skill, and terrifying strength. The human did not waste a single movement. Every strike had meaning. Every dodge had purpose. The arrogant alien stumbled again, growling in pain. "You are nothing!" he spat, but his words sounded empty now. The human advanced, step by step, eyes cold and steady. "You mocked me," the human said. "You mocked my people, my name, my world. Now you will learn why humans are feared." With a sudden burst of speed, he tackled the alien to the ground. Dust exploded around them as the crowd gasped. The arrogant alien roared and swung wildly, but the human was faster. He grabbed the alien's own weapon from the dirt and pressed the edge against his throat. Silence fell over the camp, heavy and absolute. No one moved, no one breathed. The arrogant alien froze, his pride crushed beneath the human's strength. For the first time in his life, fear filled his eyes. The human leaned close, his voice sharp as steel. "You thought humans were weak because we look fragile, but weakness is not in our bodies. It is in our hearts, and mine does not break." The alien's throat trembled against the weapon. The crowd could see it clearly, their mighty leader pinned beneath a single human. The same human they mocked only hours ago. One of the younger aliens whispered, "He defeated him, without claws, without armor." "Only willpower," another muttered. "Maybe humans are not prey after all." The human did not strike the final blow. Instead, he dropped the weapon beside the alien's head and stood tall. His voice carried across the camp like a command. "Remember this. A human does not bow. A human does not break. You can chain us, you can mock us, but you will never own us." The arrogant alien lay in the dirt, humiliated before his people. The crowd remained frozen, unsure whether to cheer or to fear. But one truth burned in every mind. The human had struck back, and nothing would ever be the same. The silence stretched until even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The human turned his back and walked calmly away, not rushing, not looking behind him. His power was proven, not through arrogance but through control. And as he walked, every alien watching knew one thing clearly. They had pushed too far, and now they had awakened something they could never put back to sleep. The duel of pride. The camp was still silent after the shocking fight. Dust hung in the air where the arrogant alien had fallen. The human had walked away calmly, leaving the weapon in the dirt, but the humiliation burned like fire in the alien's chest. He pushed himself up, his claws digging into the ground. His pride, sharper than any blade, screamed inside him. How could he, the strongest warrior of his clan, be defeated by a human? How could his people see him on the ground while the human stood tall? The crowd whispered in low voices. They had seen their leader stumble. They had seen fear in his eyes. Some were shocked, some were doubtful, and some, though they would not admit it, felt respect for the human. The arrogant alien roared, silencing all voices. His chest heaved, his eyes burned red. "No," he shouted, "this is not over. There will be no shame, no whispers. We will settle this with a duel. All before the stars, human. Face me in single combat." The crowd gasped, claws tapping against the dirt. A duel was sacred in their culture, a fight of honor that could not be refused. If the human accepted, he would face the alien without chains, without interruptions. If he won, the honor would be his. If he lost, his life would be taken before everyone. The human stopped, turning slowly, his face calm, his eyes steady. A faint smile touched his lips. "Very well," he said quietly. "You wanted a show. Now you'll have one." The aliens roared with excitement, forming a wide circle. Torches were lit, weapons placed at the edges. The air grew heavy with tension. For them, this was entertainment. But for the alien leader, this was pride. And for the human, this was survival. The arrogant alien stepped into the circle, claws ready. His scales gleamed in the torchlight, his fangs bared in fury. He pounded his chest and shouted, "Witness my strength. No human can defeat me when I fight. With honor." The human entered the circle slowly. He carried no armor, no shield, no claws, only his fists and his will, but his steps were confident, unshaken. He raised his hands in a simple stance, balanced and ready. It was the stance of a soldier who had trained for countless battles. The duel began with a roar. The alien charged first, his strength like a hammer. He swung wide, claws slicing through the air. But the human sidestepped, quick as lightning. His fist struck the alien's ribs. Sharp and precise. The crowd gasped at the sound of impact. The alien roared and struck again, faster this time, but pride made him sloppy. The human ducked, rolled, and delivered another blow, this time to the jaw. The alien staggered, his pride cracking further. The crowd's whispers grew louder. He's holding his own. The human fights like a warrior, one said. Impossible. He is only flesh, he should have fallen already. Another muttered. The arrogant alien snarled, blood dripping from his lip. You will not shame me again. He lunged with both claws, aiming to tear the human apart. The human twisted, catching one arm and using the alien's own momentum. With a sudden pull, he flipped the giant warrior onto the dirt. The ground shook as the alien crashed down. The crowd exploded with noise. Some cheering, some roaring in disbelief. The human stood over him, breathing steady, his eyes cold and sharp. "This is your pride?" he asked softly. "Strength without control is nothing. Pride without discipline is weakness." The alien roared, forcing himself up. His pride was too strong to allow defeat. With blind rage, he swung wildly, his strikes shaking the earth. The human dodged again and again, patience guiding his movements. Each miss made the alien weaker, slower, more desperate. Finally, the human struck. A knee to the stomach, an elbow to the throat, and then a final strike to the chest that sent the alien sprawling onto his back. The great warrior lay gasping for air. His claws twitched, but he could no longer rise. The crowd went silent, their eyes wide. The duel had ended. The human stood victorious. The arrogant alien groaned, shame burning deeper than his wounds. His pride was broken. His people had seen his fall. But before the silence could grow heavier, the human spoke. His voice cut through the night like steel. "You called me weak. You mocked my people. But now, you see the truth. Humans are not fragile. We are not prey. We endure. We fight. And when pushed, we rise higher than anyone expects." The crowd stared, some in shock, some in awe. Whispers spread quickly. Words of respect, words of fear. The human's calm. Strength was unlike anything they had ever seen. The arrogant alien turned his head away. His pride shattered. He could not even meet the human's eyes, and the human, showing no arrogance, simply lowered his hands and stepped back. He had proven his point, not with cruelty, not with bragging, but with discipline, control, and unshakable will. The duel of pride was over, but its echo would remain in every alien heart that had witnessed it. They had seen something they could never forget, a human who refused to break, a human who fought not with arrogance but with unstoppable resolve. And in that moment, the galaxy grew a little quieter, because everyone present knew. The human was not the weak one. It was the alien who had been blinded by pride. The bite of humanity. The circle of aliens remained frozen. The duel was over, but silence still ruled the camp. Their strongest warrior had fallen, and the human stood tall, unshaken, his chest rising and falling in calm rhythm. The arrogant alien lay on the dirt, pride shattered, body bruised, breath ragged. But inside him, something darker stirred, rage stronger than reason, hatred sharper than claws. He could not accept defeat, not before his people, not at the hands of a human. With a sudden roar, he surged back to his feet. His claws slashed wildly, his eyes burning red. Gasps rose from the crowd. The duel was over, but the alien did not care. He wanted blood. He wanted revenge, even if it meant breaking the sacred law. The human's eyes narrowed. He had expected this. He knew pride was a cage the alien could never escape. And now, that pride made him reckless. It made him weak. The alien lunged again, fangs snapping, claws striking like lightning. The human dodged once, twice, 3 times. But the aliens' fury was endless. The fight turned savage, raw, no longer about honor, only about survival. The human's movements grew sharper, no wasted energy, no fear in his steps. Every strike landed with precision, a fist to the jaw, a kick to the knee, an elbow across the chest. But still, the alien kept coming, bleeding, broken, yet driven. By rage, finally, the alien grabbed the human's shoulder. His claws cut through cloth and skin. The crowd shouted, torn between shock and thrill. The alien laughed through blood. "You cannot stop me. You are flesh. Weak flesh." But before he could finish, the human struck. Not with fist, not with blade, but with his teeth. In one swift motion, he bit down on the alien's arm. Hard, deep, with the fury of every insult burned into his soul. The alien howled in pain, jerking back, blood sprang into the dirt, his arrogance shattered in an instant. For the first time he realized what the human truly was. Not prey, not fragile, not weak, but a predator. One who could fight with fists, with will, with mind, and when pushed too far, even with his teeth. The camp erupted in shock. Warriors who had laughed at the human now stared wide-eyed. They saw not a victim, not a prisoner, but a creature more dangerous than any they had faced. The human stood there, blood on his lips, his eyes cold and steady. He spoke slowly, his voice like thunder in the silence. "You wanted to see my weakness. Instead, I've shown you my nature. Humans fight with everything, hands, heart, teeth, spirit. We don't stop until the battle is ours." The alien stumbled back, clutching his wounded arm. Fear spread across his proud face. His people watched, whispers racing through the crowd. He bit him like a beast. One muttered, "No." Another corrected, voice trembling, "Not like a beast, like a human." The arrogant alien dropped to one knee, his strength gone, his pride broken completely. His eyes darted around, desperate for support from his people. But no one moved, no one cheered. Their loyalty had shifted, not to the human, not fully, but away from him, their once proud leader. The human took one step closer. The entire crowd instinctively backed away, even bound by no weapon, even bleeding. He commanded more respect than the alien ever had. The human bent down slightly, his voice low but deadly clear. "You mocked me. You mocked Earth. Now you wear the scar of your own arrogance. Remember this pain every time you see me, because I will never kneel to you." The alien lowered his head, silent, not from choice but from defeat. For the first time his pride had been devoured, and the one who had done it was the very creature he thought weak. The human turned from him. The crowd parted without command. They looked at the human with fear, with awe, with something close to respect. The air was heavy with realization. The galaxy had just learned a dangerous truth. Humans do not submit. They endure. They adapt. They fight back. And when cornered, they bite. The human raised his head, staring at the alien sky. His body was tired, his skin cut and bruised, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. The bite had not just been an attack. It was a message. To the alien, to the camp, to the galaxy itself. You cannot break humanity. You cannot tame it. You can only fear it. The torches flickered in silence. No one laughed anymore. No one mocked. They had seen the true face of humanity, and it was something far stronger than they had ever imagined. The arrogant alien sat in the dirt, his hand pressed to the wound on his arm, but the pain in his body was nothing compared to the wound in his pride. He had been bitten, not just in flesh, but in spirit, and that mark would never fade. The human walked back into the shadows of the camp, leaving silence, fear, and respect behind him. His power was proven, not by killing, not by shouting, but by showing the galaxy what it meant to be human. Respect earned. The camp remained frozen long after the fight ended. No voices rose, no laughter echoed. Only the crackle of the torches filled the air. The aliens who once mocked the human now stood in silence, eyes fixed on him, their thoughts unsettled, their hearts unsure. The arrogant alien sat on the dirt, his pride crushed, his arm bleeding. For years he had stood as the strongest among them. But tonight, before his entire clan, a single human had broken that image. Not with size, not with claws, but with will and unshakable spirit. The human stood tall in the center of the circle. His chest rose and fell steadily. Blood streaked his arms, dirt clung to his face. Yet he looked unbroken, unafraid, almost untouchable. He scanned the crowd, his gaze calm but sharp. Every alien who met those eyes quickly looked away. One of the younger warriors whispered. He fought without fear and won. Another added softly. He endured everything and still stands, maybe. Maybe humans are stronger than we believed. The whispers grew, rippling through the crowd. For the first time, doubt had taken root. The belief that humans were fragile had been shattered. In its place stood a new truth. Humans were something to be respected. The arrogant alien struggled to rise, but his legs trembled, his body weakened. He looked around, hoping for support from his people, but they gave him none. Their eyes no longer held admiration for him, only disappointment and fear. The human stepped forward. The circle widened instinctively, aliens pulling back without realizing. His presence filled the space. He did not roar, he did not threaten, yet he commanded more respect in silence than the arrogant alien ever had in victory. He bent down, picked up his dog tags from the dirt. The small piece of metal glimmered in the torchlight. He clenched it in his fist, raising it just enough for all to see. This, he said, voice steady, is not weakness. This is memory, this is honor. Every human carries more than their own name. We carry our people, our history, our promise. The words struck deeper than any blade. The aliens shifted uncomfortably, their arrogance faltering. They had mocked the tags, mocked the human, but now they understood. They had mocked something sacred. The human turned his eyes to the arrogant alien. You wanted me to kneel, he said, but instead, you kneel before me now. Not because I am stronger, but because your pride blinded you, and pride without wisdom is always defeated. The arrogant alien lowered his head. He had no answer, no strength left. His silence was louder than any scream. Slowly, the human stepped back. His voice rose again, steady and calm. Remember this night. The night when a human stood alone, against mockery, chains, and arrogance, and did not break. Remember it well. Because humans do not forget and we do not forgive so easily. The crowd remained silent, but within their eyes, something had shifted. Where once there had been laughter, there was respect. Where once there had been arrogance, there was caution. They would never look at a human the same way again. The firelight flickered across the human's face. He looked weary, yes, but his spirit blazed bright. He had not only won a fight, he had won something greater. He had forced a galaxy of proud warriors to see truth. That humanity was not prey. That humanity was not weak. That humanity was something far more dangerous, resilient, enduring, unyielding. The human turned, walking toward the edge of the camp. No one stopped him. No one dared. The guards who once dragged him like a prisoner now stepped aside. Heads lowered, eyes averted. They had mocked him as fragile, but now they feared the fire hidden inside his kind. The night grew quiet as his figure faded into the darkness. The aliens stood in silence, their arrogant leader broken in the dust, and in the air hung a truth none of them could deny. They had tried to shame a human. They had tried to break him, but instead they had given him the chance to prove his power. And now that proof would echo across the stars. The arrogant alien would heal in time. But his scars, on body and pride, would remain forever. A reminder that arrogance leads to downfall, and that humans are never to be underestimated. In the shadows, the human whispered to himself, a promise not of vengeance but of strength. They will remember this night. Not because I wanted glory, but because they forced me to show what humanity truly is. And so, the story of that night spread, carried on whispers, on fear, and on reluctant respect. The arrogant alien had lost more than a duel. He had lost the illusion of superiority, and the human had gained something far greater than victory. He had earned respect, the kind of respect that cannot be demanded, the kind of respect that can only be taken. By standing tall when the world tries to push you down, and from that day forward one truth echoed through the galaxy. Never mock a human. Never underestimate their will. For when they bite back, the world remembers.